Hi, and welcome to Painting the Cape. My name is Lance, and what we're doing this painting, the Beetle Cat boat race, and we started with episode 1, and now we're going to go to episode 2. And what we did on episode 1, just as a quick recap, is I showed you how I do my drawing. I use just burnt sienna with a little bit of turpenoid, and I do just a very rough sketch of what it is we're drawing, keeping it very loose, like that. And then we started using paint, and we're going to have 3 grounds: the foreground, the midground, and the distant ground. You're always thinking about those things. So I'm going to go from dark to light. And to get this, I'm using burnt sienna and sap green, and mixing those together to come up with this dark value. The next ground here, I'm using permanent green light and burnt sienna, making it a little bit lighter. Now for the distant ground, I'm going to use turquoise with a little bit of white. This is titanium white. So you can see it's real light. It's getting lighter, lighter, lighter. And I mix a little bit of burnt sienna that's, I added a little bit of white to it, so it's kind of a pinky color. And I put a little bit of that in the turquoise, and put a little bit of turquoise into the burnt sienna, the light burnt sienna. And this time, I'm going to lighten those with Naples yellow. So I add Naples yellow and make it a little bit lighter. I squish it down until I get the color just one tone, not a bunch of different colors, with just one tone, keeping it very flat, as if you're cutting out paper, colored paper, and using that. We'll gradate later on. So I know I got those 2 colors, and that's going to be for the distant ground. This needs to have a little bit more turquoise in it. Okay, so now, here we go. I'm going to use a clean brush and just kind of cut in around this distant boat and little man sailing it. And even though the shapes that I'm cutting around are real small, I don't do it like this. I move my whole arm. I keep this solid, push it down and pull it in a straight line, and try to get rid of that paint on there. There's a little bit of a in between there. Now as I move across, I'm going to add a little bit of the pink to it. And cut the other boat in. I really push it down, just really push it down. And if it's not right, then I just change it, take it off, adjust it until I get it the way I want. So I just keep cutting around. I can stop or go ahead. But you want to move your whole arm. If you want to dump the paint onto the thing, you push it down, it's flatter. If you want to pick paint up, get more to the tip and pull it off. I gotta move this clamp for a second. Okay. Now for the sky. First thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of burnt sienna and thin it way down. Get my rag, thin it way down, like that, and kind of figure out where the sky's going to be. Just stick it in there. Like that. Then I'm going to use I'm going to use a lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, and white, a lot of white, to kind of sweeten it up a little bit. And really mesh it in there. And if you're going from one color to the next, let's say I've got something in here. I wipe it out as much as I can, and then I take the next color and jam it in there, really jam it in there, and wipe that off. And then your brush is clean enough, and you're ready to go for the next section. Yeah, a little more. And same thing again. I'm cutting this in where the boat is, the mast, and the sail. And I've got 3 sections. I do not blend at this time. What I do is I just make this section a flat color. Then the next section, I'm going to add a little bit of this to it. As I'm moving across, I'm adding a little bit of gray, light gray. And you should be able to see the difference from this section, that section to the next. See how slightly different? Make sure you can see the difference in tone. So it's not exactly the same tone. As it's moving across, it's changing. It's getting from light to dark or dark to light, wherever the sun is. Let's say we're going to have the sun over here. So where the sun is, it's going to be a little bit warmer. So I might add a little bit of Naples yellow. Now when I'm painting the sky, I go up and down, vertical, like that, up and down. And this is going to go up and down, kind of get them all going the same direction. Like that. So now as objects go away, they get grayer. So that same, you make a nice light gray with black and white, let's say. And I'm going to make the sail in the hull. I'm using a little bit the pinker for the hull. You try to see the different shapes, like there was a shape there, now here's another shape. I don't blend, I make them separate shapes. I want to exaggerate this a little bit so you can see it. There's a gray part, and then there's that more of a yellow part, specking up some of this light of the sky. And then I'm going to make it a little bit darker hull, gray, since it's far away. That's too dark. And on the little man, make him a little bit darker by adding a little bit more burnt sienna, but it's still kind of grayish. He's far away in the distance. And also, we decide on this where he's sitting inside the boat and the rudder. Now, in the next one, you can kind of see the different shapes there. Try to design the shapes so in other words, I'm going to outline this shape. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 shapes there. And this one, I have to have the boat tip back. So I make sure this line is tipping back, and so with this line also. And if the little person's far away, just make him a silhouette. And he's holding the rudder. Now we'll do the same thing on this boat before we color it in and everything. That's why it's good when you're doing the original drawing that you make them different shapes. And the shapes have to follow, it can follow perspective, or it can follow the way the light is hitting on the boat. Like for example, here, I'm going to make sure this boat is tipped this way. And so I go back to my drawing color for a second. My burnt sienna. I'm just going to dab it into the burnt sienna and then get a little terpenoid so it's not too strong, so I can ease into it. And kind of this part's going to be darker, so make that a little bit darker. Let's say this part's going to be darker also. And just get those shapes going. Whatever it might be. Now when I go back, I'm using a small brush. And let's say I take a different color, like turquoise, let's say, and I'll outline these shapes. Like here's a shape here. I'm using a different color just so I can see where I'm making these shapes happen. Here's a shape here, a shape here. So you're outlining the shapes, so you're designing your shapes. Everything's all about designing. And when in doubt, just make a silhouette of whatever the shape is. And then when I go back, I take a clean brush, or I make a clean brush, and this is how I do it. I wipe out as much paint as I can, take a little bit of turp, clean that out, and make some decisions. I'm going to make this sail a little pinker, so I use burnt sienna and a little bit of white. Maybe a touch of green. You don't want to use the color straight out of the tube. You want to dull it down by its complement, meaning the opposite. You know, if you're mixing red, then you want to put a little green in it. If a color doesn't feel right to you, change it. And colors go in two different directions. They either go towards yellow or they go towards blue. White, gray, and black work as if they're blue. For example, to make green, you can make a green with black and yellow, just like you can make a green with blue and yellow. You make definite different shapes. Do not blend them. Just put them on there flat, as if you're cutting out tissue paper. And then the one in the foreground here, you only have one main character. So let's say this is the main character. Everything else is not as strong as this. You make it a little bit weaker so it kind of shows off your main character. So this one, it's just in a dark thing. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So instead of using, let's say, Naples yellow, I might use yellow ochre. On my palette, I have a warm and a cool of each of the primaries. And like, for example, I could have a cadmium red light. It's kind of like a fire red as my warm color, my warm red, and my cool red would be like a lizard crimson, which has more blue in it. So if it has more yellow in it, it's a warm color. If it has more blue in it, it's a cool color. And this little man, I'm going to make him if you're on a dark surface, make him a little bit lighter. Just so you can see him. And I'll make the hull a little bluer. This time I'm going to use ultramarine blue and white. So white goes with cool colors, and the warmest color of all of them is orange. So if you want to warm a color, add orange. If you want to cool a color down, add gray, white, black, and that cools it down. If I go too far down like that, I can always paint it over with the watercolor that I used before. Now I'm going to make the inside of the boat a little darker. And to make it a little bit darker, you can add purple to, like, let's say, burnt sienna. And that makes burnt sienna a little darker. The shapes have to be able, you have to be able to see the different shapes. If you can't, adjust the color so there's more contrast. Okay, that's for this episode, and we'll continue with one more episode, and we'll get into doing edges and deep cuts, light cuts, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So see you next time.